Okay, our troops have had a hard time doing it in Afghanistan. Trying to ask them to sort through who's who and implement a policy like this is like nothing we've ever seen.
You've twice now insinuated that Trump's going to send the military to round up American citizens, which is totally false. It has to do with getting people out of the country who do not belong.
Give me how exactly you would deploy an active duty military unit to respond to this crisis.
CNN had a guest on tonight by the name of Paul Rickoff. He loses it over Trump's mass deportation plans. Scott Jennings, our favorite conservative, though, he's there every step of the way to give this guy a reality check. Now, the point of the video is to show you how disconnected people are from the truth around mass deportation. Check this out.
The challenge of sorting through them is mammoth. We had a hard time doing it in Iraq. Okay, our troops have had a hard time doing it in Afghanistan. Trying to ask them to sort through who's who and implement a policy like this, here in the United States is like nothing we've ever seen. Actually, I mean, hold on, maybe the only precedent we have is internment camps during World War II against Japanese Americans, but there's not a military precedent for sorting through who on the Upper East Side is an illegal and who's not. And you're asking a 19-year-old, right, holding a weapon, who signed up to serve his or her country, to thrust themselves into maybe the most fraught political topic that we've got in this country. People want a solution, but they don't necessarily want that one.
You've twice now insinuated that Trump's going to send the military to round up American citizens, which is totally false. There are 1.3 to 1.6 million illegal immigrants in this country today who have already received deportation orders from a court. You can start there. There's another population, as Mark said, that have either committed violent crimes in the United States or committed violent crimes where they came from. You can also do that. That has nothing to do with the people in your neighborhood, has nothing to do with the person in your office, and has nothing to do with whatever the hell you're talking about.
Okay, so spot on. Listen, here's what's happening, okay, in case you're not noticing. When it comes to Trump's mass deportation, right, the media is spinning it in this way. Number one, he's going to come and round up your grandmother, your grandpa, your uncle, your aunt. He's going to go to your job and he's going to take your boss. That's talking point number one. Talking point number two, then he's going to send in active duty military troops. They're going to run assault operations to, get your uncle and your grandpa. I mean, that's the level that they're going to when it comes to describing what Trump is going to do, even though he hasn't actually detailed what he's going to do. He's given the bottom line, which is to deport on a mass scale illegal immigrants who clearly, number one, the criminals, the people who broke the law in their own countries, but still came over here. Two, clearly people who aren't doing anything. They don't have a job. They have no status, or they haven't even established themselves here. They got to go too.
It has to do with getting people out of the country who do not belong.
How are you going to deploy the military? Give me how exactly you would deploy an active duty military unit to respond to this crisis.
I would use the military in conjunction with local officials,
what does that look like?
Local law enforcement, county sheriffs, people who know their communities, because I assume a lot of the local sheriffs and jailers are going to be the people who end up housing some of these folks before they are deported. But there has to be some...
What's the task and purpose? What's the mission for that young private? What is he actually going to be tasked to do? Guard a gate? Or is he going to be investigating?
I don't know. I wasn't elected
president. But you're sitting here on CNN saying we should do it. I think you should think out a little bit more about what they actually should be required to do.
Do not belong.
It sounds real good.
One at a time. Scott, quickly.
There are millions of people who came into the country illegally, who have already received deportation orders, or who have committed some other crime while they've been here. The fact that you want to leave them in place is mind-boggling.
That is not what I said.
So clearly this gentleman is nitpicking, right? He wants to find something to disagree on because he's part of the opposition. He does not support Trump. He's Trump deranged. And so he cannot possibly agree with Scott Jennings on the idea that, yeah, you're right. There are 1.3 to 1.6 illegal immigrants who've already received deportation orders and they should be deported. That's 1 million people. Now, can I just say something really quick? If you are getting value from this video, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. If you want to support us further, go to the link in the description below, shop the merch store, or buy us a cup of coffee. It's possible that military assets might be needed in that scenario, because are we really going to dedicate every sheriff, police officer, and ICE to be able to deport that amount of people? Is that actually feasible in the short term? Probably not. Maybe the National Guard would be a smart play here, or active duty military.
That is not what I said.
Let me ask the same question I asked Chuck.
Yeah.
What was the mandate from the election? As much as any issue, immigration was on the ballot. So what do you think the voters were saying on immigration?
I think the voters were saying do something about it. I think broadly across partisan lines, there is almost universal need for people to do something about it. What you do about it is a totally different story. Can I finish? Or are you guys going to jump in every single time? I know this is like the normal thing around.
So if that's the case, then why are you freaking out so much? You'd think you'd wait to actually see executive orders passed. The guy hasn't even walked in the building yet. He hasn't even been sworn in, and you're already having a heart attack over this idea of mass deportation. And by the way, can we remember the true deporter in chief was who? Former President Obama. Okay, let's not forget that. Okay, so now this brings us to the larger issue, which is the main strategy that networks like CNN are deploying, which is fear tactics in the name of higher grocery prices because migrants who work on these farms will be deported. Yes, I know. Check this out.
Quote, true. Donald Trump wrote that on a Truth Social post this morning at 4 a.m. in response to a post about him planning to use the military to carry out his promised mass deportation campaign. Apart from the moral and legal questions, CNN has new reporting that shows the devastating effect this could have on the economy, the very economy he says he is going to rebuild. CNN's Matt Egan, you see him there. Matt, what happens to food, to farming, agriculture, if there are mass deportations when a lot of these businesses use undocumented immigrants?
Yeah, Dana, listen, food would get more expensive, possibly a lot more expensive, and that would directly undercut another Trump campaign promise, which is to get inflation under control. Now, the big economic problem here is that we're talking about industries that are heavily reliant on foreign workers. Many of them are undocumented. And so when you have fewer workers, it means less food and, yes, higher prices. Let me just show you one example. If you look at farm crop workers, a plurality of people in that industry, 41%, are unauthorized. That's according to the USDA. One farmer in Michigan told me that mass deportations would be, quote, devastating to the ag economy because there just would not be enough people to pick the crops.
Hey, hold on. So tell me what's worse here in the comments section below. Is it that we, for so long, have been allowing illegal migrants to work, or that the president wants to deport illegal migrants? I mean, what's really worse here? I'm just trying to figure that out, because you guys are literally live on air admitting that people are breaking the law, but you're up in arms about the president wanting to enforce the law. I mean, how do you square that exactly? Now, that doesn't mean that Trump is going to go in and remove these people. I live in California, and I live in the center of California where a majority of these people work. That's where the center of agriculture is located. So I don't believe he's going to send the military to get these people. I believe he's going to focus on the criminals. That would be the common sense approach. And of course, Scott Jennings had to respond to this, which was great, to give us that common sense reaction. Check this out.
Scott Jennings, let's start with you. Farm industry officials and economists tell CNN that if Trump indeed goes forward with this mass deportation plan and rounds up the millions of undocumented immigrants who are working in our agricultural sector, they say high grocery prices are only going to get higher. Obviously getting rid of people who have committed crimes beyond coming into the country illegally is one thing, but deporting people who are paying taxes, keeping the food and agriculture industries running, doing jobs that native-born Americans don't want to do or not willing to do, won't this actually hurt the Americans who are already so frustrated about high prices in grocery stores?
I think a few things. Number one, Donald Trump was elected to do this. He ran on it, made it clear what he wanted to do. The American people voted for it. And so some people are watching this going, thank God, a politician who's planning to follow through on their promises. Number two, there's like 1.3 to 1.6 million illegal immigrants who've already received deportation orders from a court. I think you could start there. Number three, there's another population of people who are violent. You could also go there before you ever get to people who are sort of working in industries. And maybe during the course of all that time, maybe, just maybe, the Congress and the White House could figure something out about how to balance our illegal immigration crisis with the need for agricultural labor. Final point, I don't remember anybody having these kinds of meltdowns when Barack Obama deported 5 million people. It is not uncommon for the executive branch to deport illegal immigrants. It happens in every administration. Obama deported more than most. And I don't remember any of this kind of meltdown, and the crisis has only gotten worse. So I think Donald Trump's doing the right thing, and most Republicans would agree it is a national emergency.
Think about how much time it's going to take to deport probably 2 to 3 million people based on those categories, right? People who already have a deportation order in the system, people who clearly broke the law. These are criminals, rapists, child traffickers, right? And then people who clearly aren't doing anything. It's probably going to take 2 years, right? I mean, I don't think it's going to be done in 1 week. So Congress has more than enough time to figure something out with people who may be undocumented, but they are working, and let's figure a way out to get them citizenship. That's common sense. But CNN and a lot of these Trump deranged individuals, they're not going to speak that way. They're going to go with the fear stuff, which is he's going to send active duty military to your aunt's house and get her out of there. Now, let me show you what the governors are doing. I did a video of this last week where governors are clearly coordinating together to fight against this whole mass deportation plan. And I don't think it's really serious. I think they are verbally fighting against it. Physically, they can't do anything. Here's an example. Boston Mayor had this to say.
What will Boston's response be if these mass deportations take place?
Yeah, look, elections have consequences, and the federal government is responsible for a certain set of actions, and cities, no individual city can reverse or override some parts of that. But what we can do is make sure that we are doing our part to protect our residents in every possible way, that we are not cooperating with those efforts that actually threaten the safety of everyone by causing widespread fear and having large-scale economic impact.
All right, that's standard Democrat talking points, of course. They're going to go the victimization route, right? They're going to do the whole cry wolf routine, which they just lost an election over. But okay, do you, right? However, it contradicts what the voters actually want, which is why majority of the country obviously support mass deportation. So there's that. Now, don't take my word for it. Here's Tom Homon, the new border czar, really giving it to these governors. Check this out.
Defending our residents every possible way. Well, she's not very smart, I'll give her that. Because what I just said is President Trump's going to prioritize public safety threats. What mayor or governor doesn't want public safety threats out of their communities? I mean, that's her number one responsibility, is to protect her communities. And that's exactly what we're going to do. So she helps us, she gets the hell out of the way, because we're going to do it. And look, there's a clear line here, and they can't cross a clear line. I would suggest she read Title 8, United States Code 1324 III, that says, you can't harbor or conceal an illegal alien from front of law enforcement officers. So I hope she don't cross that line. They can not cooperate, but there are certain laws in place that they can't cross, and I hope she doesn't cross it.
So I don't understand why the governors and the mayors are trying to play this game, which I don't believe is going to work. Now, to be more clear about what they are truly going to focus on, here is Tom Homon in his own words laying out the 3 primary pillars of this entire operation.
A lot of people have wondered, how is this going to work? So how will it work?
Well, look, I think the president's been clear on the stage. As far as the deportation operation, we will prioritize public safety threats and national security threats because they pose the biggest danger to the United States. He's got 3 rails. So we'll do the deportation operation with the priorities I just talked to you out of the gate. That'd be the priorities. Second thing is secure that border. Lock that border down and catch and release and secure the border. The third rail is we got over 300,000 missing children. Over 500,000 children have been trafficked into the United States. This administration released them to unvetted sponsors, and they can't find 300,000 of them. And based on my 3.5 decades, some of these children are in forced labor. We already found some in forced labor. Some are in forced sex trafficking. Some are living with pedophiles. We need to save these children. That's going to be the third rail.
So do you believe that the left-wing media, particularly CNN, these governors, the mayors, do you think they're just using fear tactics to, I guess, find some way to disagree with Trump on this whole plan when it comes to mass deportation? Or do you find some actual truth in what they're saying? Do you believe they have a point? Now, I don't really believe they have a leg to stand on here. I believe they're wasting their energy trying to scare people about mass deportation. In fact, what they should be doing is reassuring the citizens that this is going to be done in a professional way. And if it is not done in a professional way, that they will be there to hold the federal government accountable. That makes more sense to me. But again, they are addicted to speaking to their constituents from a victimization mindset. Every word out of their mouth comes from a place where they believe you are less than. And when you operate from that mentality, you're not going to get great results. I think we saw that in this election, right? So that's what I have to say about this. Now, speaking of the election, Bill Maher dropped a huge truth bomb on The View. And let's just say Sunny Holston, she lost it, got into a fight with the other co-host, Elisa Griffin. I mean, these ladies, I don't think they could truly get along on that show every time the election comes up. So things get heated, of course. And if you want to check out that video, all you have to do is click on it because it's coming up right now.